everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you a Use Up Your Scraps card that I made for Mother's Day. I've had to make a couple cards recently. It just kind of seems like if I don't make the card, if I actually buy it, then I'm cheating. So I just go ahead and make them. I had this envelope, I measured it, it ended up being like a 4x6 type of an envelope, a little bit bigger one. And I took a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock, folded it down, cut it down to fit into the envelope. I mean, duh, right? And then I had this piece of gel print that was on cardstock that somebody had sent me in a swap recently. And I decided that that could be the base for my card front, which I'll glue onto the card that I folded in half. It's pretty simple. So I decided to just do an abstract collage, mixed media type stuff on top of this gel printed cardstock, having no idea what kind of paper it is. Um, Not a very forgiving paper. I'm not sure what it is, but it's some kind of cardstock. And so I just took pieces of papers that I already had. I have a metal ruler with a cork back, and I use that ruler with the measuring side down so that I have a nice metal edge to tear with. And I just tore up some different pieces of papers that I could fit on here in kind of like a little grid or something. Not making a plan, just going with color. And the color is being inspired by a couple things. I know it's Mother's Day, and that seems like a good day for pink, which I also like pink. And I think pink goes well with teal, which is what was on this gel print. And so I grabbed my scrap basket of pink and my scrap basket of turquoise colors. So I sort my papers, all my papers, no matter what kind they are. Sometimes they're packaging, sometimes they're leftover pieces of stuff that I found, sometimes they're gel prints, sometimes they're scraped paint that's left over from my palette and I just scrape it on a piece of paper or, do something like that. Stenciled papers, all that type of stuff that has product on it, has some type of color on it. And I just sort them into these baskets. And I have a large basket at the bottom that has all the like whole sheets, too big to fit in the smaller basket. And then the one on top has got all kinds of little pieces. And I'm just using mostly the little pieces here. This is the stuff I use for collage, and I love to do collage, and so that is kind of what I'm doing here is just free play. Don't got a big plan. I don't really even know what I'm doing. I'm just gluing paper, and I decided to just use a glue stick. This is going to be a card, right? It's going to probably get thrown away at some point. So why bother to get out all the mediums and, make it real permanent like if it's just going to probably end up in trash anyway at some point. I mean, I guess if my mom wanted to, she could pull the front off and she could frame it in a small 4x6 frame and call it a piece of art if she wanted to. I guess it is art. I mean, I did create it in an artistic fashion, but it's a card. I don't know. Cards are just kind of seem like they are constructed to be ephemera, which is something that is used and discarded. That's what ephemera means. And so that's what I figure is going to happen to it. So I've put down some pieces in kind of a little grid. I grabbed some acrylic ink because I think this is kind of fun for mark making. And this one is called Nightfall. It's a really dark blue, but on this it looks black. I really can't even tell that it's blue at all. I have a, what's that thing called? Like an eyedropper thing, pipette. There we go. It's got a small tip, and I use that for my mark making instead of using the dropper that's inside the bottle because I wanted to have like kind of a smaller line. So I just made some marks on there, and they kind of ended up looking sort of botanical. So that's what I decided they must be, some type of a vine or something, which I mean, Mother's Day, that's what was in my head was Mother's Day, pink and flowers and those type of classical ideas of what you give your mom on Mother's Day. So I kind of dried it. It took a long time to dry, and then I blended out a little bit of it to make some shadows. I thought it was kind of interesting, and then I thought, what if I just continued to collage on the top of it with some other pieces? So I got out a different basket, which is my black and white basket, and I have a lot of paper in there that's like tissue that has mark making on it, and it's interesting paper because it's translucent. So when you glue it down, especially if I would have done it with a fluid medium, it really just all you are left with is the marks that's on the paper because fluid glue will really make it be transparent. But I'm not using fluid glue, and so I'm just using a glue stick still, which is a little bit tricky to glue down tissue paper and napkin type tissue stuff with a glue stick, but I'm doing it because I don't feel like getting out anything else. This is, the day before Mother's Day. I'm not really in the mood to do art. Trying to get it done. It's later in the afternoon, and I'm racing against the shadow that's going to come across my desk, which at the end of the video you'll see how that really changes the light on my desk, and I really can't film in the afternoon because of that, because my desk is up against a window, and in the afternoon the light from the sun shines in that window across the desk and really just like blows out my artificial light that I have to film with. Doesn't work. Also, it just makes it really hard to see. The light is shining in my eyes and kind of blows out the vision in my eyes too. So I never work in the afternoon. I always work really early in the morning, but I got a late start on this piece. So I just wanted to do it and get it done. So I put on all little pieces of torn paper. I did cut some of them out to fit inside this kind of leafy thing that I have there. But mostly I'm just adding contrast against the color. Remember, all this stuff I'm putting on the front is black and white. And so it's giving me a lot of contrast. I was just teaching a class last Saturday about design. It's a paid class that we have over in Art Joy of Sharing group membership class. And we were talking about contrast and how to build contrast, and that's what I was thinking about when I was adding. Usually you start with your contrast kind of in the first layers instead of putting them on the top. But in this case, I put the contrast on the top. Hey, who's going to stop me? I'm a mixed media artist. There's no rules. I ain't got no rules here. So then I decided to add just a little bit more color, still keeping with the pink, teal, and I think I threw in a third color. There's a little bit of green in the background, so I'm not sure. Maybe orange. I decided to put in some orange too because I thought it went with the other two colors. I generally kind of go for a 3-color scheme just because that's what I like. So I'm kind of using a red orange, not a yellow orange. And yeah, I add a little bit of green to that turquoise color too to make it more of a teal. And just, I don't know, randomly adding color here and there with intuition. And what I'm using as a product here is this is a watercolor set from, I think it's from Sakura. I don't know. Anyway, it's Japanese watercolors. And they're really more like gouache. There's a lot of opacity to these watercolors, but you can definitely make them translucent with more water. But you do get more of a color punch because the way the pigment is in them, it's just more intense. Also, there's a white, which is not common in watercolor because translucent white, that doesn't make any sense, right? What would that even do? If you put it on black, it would maybe turn it a little bit gray. If you put it on white, it's going to be nothing because white on white is white. So when you have a white watercolor, it really kind of trends towards more of a gouache. So I'm using that. I even use the white watercolor to make some marks. And some people really love this set. Some people hate them. I will put the link to the product down below if you want to try it out. I kind of just used the white to emphasize some of the marks that were in the background from the original paper. And then I added some dots and lines just to make it more interesting. Also, in the end, after this was all dry, I did put on some of that shimmery stuff in some places. And one of the pictures at the end, the close-ups, you hopefully will be able to see the shimmer. I think I did that after everything was done. So it didn't happen during the video, during the filming, which seems to happen more and more lately. It's like, one more thing. I think I'll put some of this glitter on here. And what it is, it's a Spectrum Noir clear mica glitter pen type thing. It's a brush pen that has this clear fluid with this mica in it, and it's very fine but very shimmery, and I like the look of that stuff. I don't want glitter bam in your face with big chunks of glitter, but I do like a little shimmer in my life. So this piece of paper was thick, and it even bent at one point in the middle. I'm not sure why. So I decided to glue it onto the card with some tacky glue from Aleene's, which I put a full layer on there. I smoothed it out, and then I had to really press down to make sure that this is flat onto the card because it was so bendy and I struggled with it a little bit. So I even got out my Baron and pressed it down on the back, waiting for that glue to really get tacky and to stick it on there. Some white splatters because, yeah, always white splatters. Just always. And then I set that aside, and I want to use some of my die cut plates, my little, metal plates that have letters, and I thought it would be fun to put the Happy Mother's Day on the inside with these letters. So I got out some thin paper, which is like a text weight black paper. Still not sure what you use this paper for as far as printing goes, because black on black doesn't make any sense. Color on black doesn't make any sense. I don't know why, but there is text weight printer paper that is black. And that's what this is. And this first die is from Tim Holtz Ranger, and I got it a long time ago, and I've used it like maybe twice. I don't think they sell it anymore, and I could see why. It is annoying. All this stuff stuck inside the die, and I had to pull them out with a pointy tool. I was pretty annoyed. Then this next one, I think I got it from In Love Arts. It's like just a little thinlit metal die with all the letters on it. What do you do with all the rest of the letters? I usually use them as graphics on collages because I think that the shapes of letters are interesting. So I do save them, and I put them in a little cup. So then comes the sticking down. Now, I didn't really have any type of glue in my drawer or anything that has a fine tip on it. And I know that my friend Peg will say, you need to get that art glitter glue. So I'm going to get the stupid art glitter glue because I really needed something small to put on the backs of these. But I ended up just using the glue stick and kind of rubbing them across the end of the glue stick and sticking them down. The first row, I put the glue stick on the paper and then stuck all the letters into it. But then I had a lot of extra glue, and I tried to wipe it off with a baby wipe, and the paper buckled. And yeah, this was not the way to do it. So then I had all this like excess glue and stuff on there that didn't look good. So I decided to just put a little bit of color on there with the leftover watercolor that I had used on my palette. That same watercolor, just there was the ones left on my palette because I had already put away the box of watercolor. And I thought that looked pretty good. I mean, it disguised all my glue mess. I thought I better put a few little something on there just to make it more interesting. So I grabbed a couple little tiny leaf stamps, and I stamped those on because, I had that kind of botanical look at the front. And added a little bit of color to those. That's archival ink. And this card was done. I hope that you enjoyed this, and if you did, please remember to give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment or question below, subscribe, turn on your notification bells, join my channel membership, all those things to help out my channel. That's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.